Good morning and como estas, people? Welcome back to the Average Joe Sports Talk Show. This is our Tuesday edition of the show. We are so glad to be back. We were on vacation last week. We did catch Friday's show, but we are actually glad to bring you Tuesday's edition. Why? Because we can also bring the Magic Minute, which is very important to all those gamers, nerds, and geeks out there. So, anyway, we're going to jump right on in. This is going to be kind of a special show. We're going to dedicate this show to the PEDs in baseball. Now, we will talk about a few other little topics, but mainly we're going to cover baseball and the PED epidemic or lack thereof. So, right off the bat, we're going to let everybody know, please leave your comments and feedback. Let us know what you think about steroids in baseball. So, first things first, let's talk about Barry Bonds and PEDs. Now, Barry Bonds came out, he looked real skinny, he was still pounding the ball, hitting the ball very well, and then over the last probably 8 to 10 years of his career, the guy swole up to the size of Lou Ferrigno. Now, there has been no evidence or no proof that link directly Barry Bonds to steroids, but all of the rumors and all of the, he said, she said, I saw him do it type of stuff was put into play in the evidence against him, but the actual usage of steroids he never tested positive for PEDs or steroids. So, but if you just look at the guy, you could see that there's some serious problems with Barry Bonds. Now, the guy hit the ball like crazy. He ended up breaking the home run record. But then we also had Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. Same thing. Mark McGwire, towards the end of his careers, had forearms like, probably some kind of triathlon's thighs. His forearms, when you see him hit the ball, it's just amazing the size that these guys got. But again, Mark McGwire was never found positive, but did come out and apologize for the PED usage. So these guys, Sammy Sosa's in there, and we can go on and on and on with some of the names. Roger Clemens, who was not only brought before charges, but fought the charges and won. These guys, they call it the steroid era, have supposedly shamed and marked baseball for all eternity. There's a problem, folks. Do you think that these guys were the first ones to ever use steroids or some kind of performance enhancement drug? I guarantee you there are guys right now in the Hall of Fame that pushed the limits, that used any kind of advantage to better themselves. And let's just break it down, folks. Do you, as a normal fan, as your average Joe fan, do you really care if these guys use steroids or not? That's a question I'm asking you. I'm not giving you my opinion on it yet, but that is something that I'm going to ask to you as our viewer. Do you really care that these guys use steroids? Let's just break it down from fact here. When Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were going for this home run record, I have to tell you, folks, I was more into baseball. I watched more games, and I'll tell you what, I went to more sports bars to catch these games these guys played in than ever in the history of my watching or knowing about baseball. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, I'm not trying to say it's okay to use steroids, but we watch it. We enjoy watching these jacked hits. We enjoy these guys being jacked up on the juice and hitting 450-yard home runs, and lots of them. It's all about offense. Right now, you have pitchers hitting no-hitters, and what do you hear about them? You hear very little about those. But when Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire were going for these home run records, everybody was tuned in. Everybody was excited to watch. So, again, the question is, do you, as an average Joe sports baseball fan, care if these guys are juiced up? Now, here's our take on it. we heard on the radio the other day, a caller called in and was talking about steroid use. Now, many of us look at steroid use and say, okay, you know what? What does it really matter? If it makes you better, if it makes you stronger, if it makes the game more entertaining, and they voluntarily take these PEDs, because let's be right and fair about this, folks. PEDs do kill people. Lou Ferrigno, that guy, not Lou Ferrigno, the player from the Raiders, I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about, from the 80s. This guy came out in a Sports Illustrated magazine 2 to 3 weeks before he passed away. And this guy was juiced. He talked about how he juiced. He talked about other players, why they did it. It was all to gain an advantage. And it's just hard not to see anyone doing this, folks. Brian Braum, yeah, so what? He's kicked out of baseball for the next 60-something games. He's out for the season. Hey, you know what? A-Rod might take it too. Right now, baseball is offering A-Rod a year suspension next year and the rest of this year, and then they'll get off his back. They'll leave him alone. The problem with A-Rod is he has $100 million riding on the suspension, and he doesn't know if he'll claim any money if he gets suspended. That's why A-Rod is in a different situation than Brian Braun, who already knows he's going to take the 60-game suspension, come back next year and hit $100 million on a contract. I don't know, folks. It's up to you. You answer the question. Is it worth it? Would you be willing to take steroids if you were a somewhat okay player, whether it be baseball, football, basketball, whatever the sport, and with a little bit of help of PEDs, end up quadrupling your salary and possibly being a world champion or a Hall of Famer? Another question I'd like to throw out to you is it fair for the players that aren't juicing up compared to the players that are juicing up? So let's break that down. A guy once said, it's like cheating on your taxes. Some people don't, some people do. It's just the way it is. Is it fair or not? Absolutely not. But the guys that aren't cheating are probably making at the lower scale pay level, and the guys that seem to be getting a little advantage somehow, some way, always seem to be bringing in the hugest money, the biggest paydays, and are the bigger celebrities. This is a tough subject, folks. PEDs in sports is running rampant, and what I mean by that is not necessarily through one particular sport, but as a whole. You can go from football, you can go to baseball, you can go to cycling, you can go to, well, one thing we don't hear a lot about is in basketball. Are there any players in basketball on the juice? That's a good question. Now let's break it down from here. Is it okay to juice if you're recovering from a serious injury? There's another whole level of understanding PEDs. Many of these players that have been busted or accused of PEDs always reference back to, well, I had a tore ligament, I had a tore ACL, I had a broken bone, I had a muscle pull, muscle strain, whatever. PEDs seem to help these guys recoup faster so they can get back on the field. Now, do they stop once they've healed up? That's another question. That's something that a lot of people are interested in, because then you hear those people that say, hey, I'm okay with PEDs as long as they're using them as a recovery tool, as a recovery system, if it's part of their recovery agenda, whatever you want to call it. But once they're back to full health, then they should get off the PEDs. Again, what is an advantage over another player and what isn't an advantage? All I could think about is Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson had a serious injury, took him out of football and baseball forever. He never was the player he was again after that injury. What if some coach, some training manager said, hey, let us put this in you, it'll heal up your injury, and it'll make you just as good as you were before? How many of you people would not have loved to see Bo Jackson back on the field, breaking tackles and running over linebackers? This guy could have been the best player ever to play any of these sports, whether it been baseball or football, but because of an injury, he was done. Again, is it fair or not? I don't know, but to the average fan like me, I would have loved to see Bo Jackson running over people again for the next 10, 12 years, but it didn't happen. So is it okay? So here are the questions right now to you folks. Just point blank, do you think it's wrong for players to use PEDs? Yes or no? Second question would be, do you think that it's okay for players to use PEDs during a recovery process? Yes or no? Those are two amazing questions that we need to get answers to. I personally, this is my personal opinion, I don't care if these guys are jacked up, juiced up, whatever you want to call it. To me, if it makes the sport better and they are voluntarily using this, don't get me wrong, there's no way in the world that we should be back in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. This is the question that I have to ask. What were these guys taking when they would get a pulled muscle or a broken bone or whatever? They would inject them with something, and next thing you know, second half, a player that should be in the hospital is now running up and down the field. That's a question too. We cannot assume that these players, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Clemens, Sammy Sosa, the list can go on, that these guys were the first guys to go with PEDs and steroids. It's just unheard of and unreasonable to believe that. As a matter of fact, we have players that are in the Hall of Fame that say that they know players that did steroids that are in the Hall of Fame. Just maybe because they didn't get caught, maybe because it was a different era that people didn't investigate every single person the way they do today. Those are good questions as well. These are the PED days of sports, and we have everyone from athletes in the Olympics to athletes in bike riding that are getting busted. And if you notice, they're all superstars. They're all the best, the elite of their sport. And again, it goes back to the question, was it worth it? Did it make sense to take PEDs to become one of the best of your sport? To some of these athletes, I'm sure at the time they were taking them and were the best and at the highest level, they would say yes. But once they get pushed off the pedestal and to get knocked back down to earth, and people are like, oh, they're cheaters, oh, they're cowards, and they're nobodies, and they're... People, give these folks a break. There's no way in the world that I could take a steroid right now and start taking steroids, or even as a young man, and hit a ball like Barry Bonds or like Mark McGwire. These guys already had a large amount of attributes that they took to their given sport, and again, PEDs just enhanced them, make them better than what they were. And I have to tell you, we all loved watching it. If any of you folks out there could say you did not enjoy watching those home run challenges when they were fighting for who was going to win the record, then either you just don't like baseball or you just didn't like watching home runs being hit. That's just plain. Moving on. Football. We are getting to that time and we are excited. Football's about to begin, but we're still frustrated with the NFL. They want to go to an 18-game schedule when we have guys dropping out in a no-pad situation practice. Guys are busting their bones, pulling and snapping their Achilles tendons and fracturing muscle. I mean, it's crazy, the injuries that are occurring right now in football, and the NFL actually wants to think about going to an 18-game season, but yet telling everybody under the sun how much they care about these players and how much they care about players getting hurt. It's so hypocritical. Again, let us know if you think that the NFL should go to an 18-game season. We'd like to know. We're interested because right here at our show, right here at the Average Joe Sports Talk Show, Jay Reel's going to say no way that they should go 18 games. It's just too unreal. It's too much more chance and risk for these guys to get hurt. We already see it in the All-Star game. These guys barely touch each other because imagine getting injured in a non-meaning game. So, that is very interesting to hear and to find out and to see how that turns out. But not only that, with all the injuries going on, who is going to be available to fill some of these roster spots? I'll be interested to see if Jamarcus Russell gets a chance in the NFL. The guy looks like he's in good shape. The guy used to be a decent quarterback until he just fell out of love or never really cared about the game. Maybe he's rejuvenated. Maybe he's found a spark. Interested to see. Same thing with Vince Young. Vince Young was a decent quarterback at one time until he lost the fire, until he thought himself bigger than the game. These guys might make a comeback. It's interesting to see. And then finally, we got to cut away just real quick. We're going to cut away to a break to thank our sponsors. The Player Zone have all this cool stuff. Football memorabilia, baseball, basketball, hockey, NASCAR. You name it, they got the sports memorabilia. Cards, autographs, pictures, jerseys, whatever. They got all your gaming needs. They got stuffed animals and little girly things for the girls. They got Star Wars figures, action figures, comics. They got vintage comics. Folks, you would not be amazed. If you love history and you love anything from DCI, Marvel, superheroes, bad villains, good villains, just come on and see some of the stuff they have displayed on their walls. It's amazing. They got an amazing Spider-Man number 10. I mean, that is amazing in itself. They got a Green Lantern number 1 from 1960. I mean, this store has everything. Don't forget to get with them. Go to riodosomidtown.com, click on the Merchants tab, boom, you get right to the Player Zone, or you can get them at the Player Zone Facebook. We're going to cut away real quick. J. Real says don't go anywhere. We got the Magic Minute coming up, and then we'll do the wrap-up. Thanks, folks. See you in a bit.
Oh, wow, this stuff in the Player Zone is so cool. Oh, wow, they got Magic, sports cards, Yu-Gi-Oh, and I think I see comic books back there. And the Player Zone will even price this stuff for free. Oh, wow. Player Zone will buy, sell, and trade any of this stuff. And what can I get for her?
All right, folks, welcome back from the commercial break. Again, I'm your host, Jay Real, and this is the Average Joe Sports Talk Show. We are trying to bring you our Average Joe fan person's point of view. We hope you enjoyed the show so far. We are pushing to our 2,000 views, and we just hit our 50th show. So we're real excited, and we thank all of you for your support and all your feedback and comments and helping us in our show get better. Now, go ahead and go into our Magic Minute. Our Magic Minute is for all of those folks that enjoy the Player Zone. They are our huge sponsor, and that love to come here and support them as well. They have a huge gaming community all the way from New Mexico down to the southern New Mexico. So we have to really let those guys know what's going on and give them feedback from all of their gaming ideas and gaming tournaments. So, moving on, the Magic Minute, we're going to go right into last week's results. We had a tournament, Friday Night Magic, every Friday, starts around 5:30. If anyone's interested, you're welcome to come to that. And last week we did a Type 2 Magic tournament. And the winner of that was Robert Dronesfield. He is from, again, Roswell. He's one of our top players here, and he averages he's almost wins every week. So can't say enough for Robert. Good job, great job. He's an amazing player, a great deck builder. And then second place we had Jacob Chadwick. He's a local here, took second place. He is also usually one of the top 3 finishers when it comes to our tournaments. Great player, very smart, has the fundamentals of Magic completely down. Amazing player. And then finally we wrap up with third place, Brandon Nash. Again, a local player, but unfortunately is being relocated to Florida. But I'm sure he's going to find a shop over there and make those guys a great tournament winner and a local player there for them. So those are our top 3. Again, it was a Type 2 standard tournament. This week's Friday tournament is going to be also Type 2, but with a twist. It is going to be a 2-headed giant. That's right. You pair up with your favorite player, your favorite partner, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever your partner is, team up with them, get in here to the Player Zone for Friday Night Magic. Starts about 5:30, and we're going to do Two-Headed Giant Type 2. So real excited about that. Now, to wrap up the Magic Minute, we have to say that the M14 released a few weeks ago, and man, this stuff has been just rocking. It is flying off the shelves. People are loving the M14, and there's good reasons. There are so many cards that have such high, powerful impacts to a deck out of M14. A lot of folks were anticipating this, and so, again, M14 is a really, I would say, one of the biggest core set sellers in recent years. So if you're interested in learning about Magic and getting into Magic, right now would be a great time, because you have a good core set, and you have some great sets going from Dragon's Maze to Great Gate Crash, even Return to Ravnica. This block has been phenomenal. And in October, when all the other blocks drop, these guys are going to really be able to push you as a Magic player, especially brand new, to get a good start on the game. So with that, we're going to get out of the Magic Minute. We hope you all enjoyed that. Let us know again, players, if there's anything else you'd like to be included on the Magic Minute besides results from the week and what's going on prior week. So don't judge somebody off of, why they were great. Just look at what they were, and they were great. Cheating or not, they were great athletes in the prime of their careers, and they gave us something that, at least for me as a sports fan, will never forget. I will never forget watching Barry Bonds break the record. I will never forget Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa fighting for that record just a year or two before that. I'll never forget 8 Tour de France's by our guy Lance Armstrong. And I will never forget all the Olympians that won gold medals for us, challenging other, and I guarantee you, juiced up people from other countries and bringing us home the gold. So, folks, again, don't be so harsh on these people. Appreciate what they did. Yes, you can be disappointed. Yes, you can say, hey, too bad it wasn't done naturally. But these guys did what they did to be the best and to make us be happy to watch sports. So I'm going to leave you all with that. Again, leave us your comments and feedback. We appreciate you checking out the show today. We will see you on Friday's show. But for right now, J. Real's going to say peace and much love. We'll see you on Friday. J. Real. J. Real.